Hi, my name is Peter Kim. I'm a Senior Manager of Solutions Architecture here at Qlik. My focus is around the Qlik Data Catalyst product, which we're going to be talking about today. And I've been with Qlik since Qlik purchased Podium Data, which was the original company that developed Qlik Data Catalyst. It used to be called Podium Data. But I was with that company for 3.5 years before, or 2.5 years before. So it's now been a total of 4 years that I've been working with Qlik Data Catalyst from a sales and a deployment and customer perspective, and happy to share with you today what's new specifically around Qlik Data Catalyst for your QVDs. We of course have to start with making the lawyers happy, and really all we're saying here is that we're developing things that are on our roadmap. They're future forward looking. That means there's no commitment on our part to actually deliver that, and that it's proprietary because it's our intellectual property. So please don't share it, and don't use it as the basis for your purchasing decisions, right? This is really, there's a full featured product here. You should be looking at its capabilities today in terms of making those decisions. So what we hope to do today in this brief webinar is to give you an idea of what exactly is Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs. What are its capabilities? How does it work? How does it actually integrate with your existing QlikSense environment? And where do you get more information? And once I've covered all that, I'll pass it off to my esteemed colleague, Jonas Linden, and he'll give you a good demo of how this works. Let's start with the big picture. What is Qlik Data Catalyst support for QVD files in general? Well, Qlik Data Catalyst, if you haven't seen it before, is an environment where we can catalog all of your data in terms of onboarding it. That cataloging includes all those things that we do in the catalog in terms of adding automatic data identification, protecting that data, making it available to the appropriate users, giving users a sense of what's in that data in terms of a statistical profile, the ability to add more metadata, all of these things. This is what the traditional Qlik Data Catalyst product is. In June, we extended that to include the proprietary QVD file format. So now we can connect to a QlikSense environment, use the data connections to identify where the QVDs are and determine who's supposed to have access to them, catalog those, and they will look to the end user just like any other data that is sitting in files, that's sitting in databases. People in the catalog shouldn't care where the data is. They care what it is, and the catalog is how they're going to get at it. This was delivered in June in our full product as one part of it. It was just an extension, and if you buy our full product, you're automatically going to get this. We utilized some of the Qlik core capabilities so that we could natively read and process those QVDs, and our end goal was, as I said, these are objects in the catalog, and you can use them and shop them just like any other piece of data. But we also had a capability that would let you convert those QVDs into a more open format, because we know a lot of you have QVDs that are essentially the aggregation of a lot of years of work and doing transformations and grabbing data, but you've got users outside of the QlikSense environment you might want to share that with, and Qlik Data Catalyst is a way for you to do that. We heard back from the customer base, though, and found that there was a need for a much simpler product with only a subset of those capabilities. So in September, we released a product called Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs. And what it is, it's a smaller footprint of the Qlik Data Catalyst product that is built around an automated cataloging of your QVD files that allows your users to find those QVDs, right, have that same shopping experience in the catalog, and be able to go from that directly back into QlikSense. It's a lower price point, and it's got an upgrade path towards full QDC. If you don't need all of the capabilities, if your focus is you've got multiple layers of QVDs, you've got lots of different authors of QVDs, you're trying to get your hand around that, this is the kind of product that's going to meet those needs. You're asking yourself, what exactly are the differences between Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs and the full QDC product? You'll see here QDC for QVDs is going to give you the capabilities to profile and catalog all of your QVDs. And in the demo, you'll see exactly what that means and how that works. It will have the enriched metadata, these business and technical definitions, and that shop for data UI in the catalog that gets you really quickly from the catalog into QlikSense and working with your data. Now, the full product, the full QDC, has these capabilities to go beyond the QVDs, including support for all those different data types, your data in your databases and files and JSON, XML, converting your hard mainframe data. We can store copies of that. So one of the use cases is you want to build a data lake. Qlik Data Catalyst can absolutely help you do that. We can provision access to that data. So in Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs, the only path to consume that QVD is via QlikSense. With the full Qlik Data Catalyst, if we're managing that data, right, we can make that available to users who can connect to, a JDBC database, and they can use whatever tools they want to do that. We have a functionality called Prepare that is all about transforming your data. Part of the full platform lets you build joined, aggregated, filtered, right, derived data and create a new copy of that derived data and make that queryable via that SQL mechanism. That's a capability in the full platform. In addition, we have a capability in the full product to automatically identify and tag, encrypt, and obfuscate data. So if you're concerned about PII, right, you want to make sure that no social security number slips through, or driver's license numbers, or anything that you might consider to be data that should be protected of your customers, of your employees, of whatever it might be. The full product has the capability to identify those things and protect them. That's not a capability in the QVD catalog only. And lastly, the shopping for data experience differs in that we can publish not just to QlikSense in the full product, but to virtually any other BI tool, or to a database, or to a flat file, or out to S3 in your AWS, or into ADLS in your Azure environment. So that's really a good comparison of the simplified QDC for QVDs versus the full footprint. So let's talk about how these products, Qlik Data Catalyst and QlikSense, work together in order to deliver the QVD catalog. First, I'd like to point out that Qlik Data Catalyst, for all of you longtime Qlik fans, Qlik Data Catalyst is a slightly different beast, right? It runs on Linux. So you're going to need some folks who have some experience and knowledge of Linux just to deploy Qlik Data Catalyst in the first place. There are some other pieces here where you're going to want to make sure that you have someone who's knowledgeable in Windows and understands how to open share folders and how to map those into Linux, right? So there is some technical expertise here to make this architecture work. But that said, right, Qlik Data Catalyst is running in Linux, and the way this works is we will go through QlikSense, right? Qlik Data Catalyst makes an API call to QlikSense. Through QlikSense, in the data connections, we're going to add QVD folders to catalog. So you've got data connections set up that are mapped to certain QVD folders, and those are going to be tagged to be cataloged. And we're also going to pull the connections and the access permissions as defined from there. The next step is we now know which folders to reach out to. So we go to that folder and all the subfolders, and we find all the QVDs, and we pull in all that rich metadata that's inside of the QVD. So if you've ever taken it apart and looked inside the QVD, there's an XML header on it, and then the data is sort of stored underneath it. We're pulling all that and making it available within the catalog. The next step is to actually consume that data the way we would onboard any data in the catalog. So this is how we would do this if we were pulling data from a relational store or from a flat file of any type. But in this particular case, we don't have the engine to open and read the QVD data appropriately. So when we deploy this, we embed Qlik Core. and via Qlik core, we read that QVD data, and we convert it into a format that Qlik Data Catalyst can read, essentially a CSV file, and now it's onboarded. The next level of integration is, now that you're in the catalog, that we are going to be able to publish back to QlikSense, right? So you're in the QVD catalog and you say, this is interesting. You put this in your shopping cart. You say, publish to QlikSense. It's going to push into QlikSense, either to into a new application, essentially build a load script that says, pull the data from this QVD. So you go seamlessly from the catalog right into an app, and you're off to the races building your application from that data. Now, if you're a rabid Qlik fan and you've been following every step of the way, every development in all our products, you probably already know this. But for those of you who may have missed this, there is an enhanced capability in the way we publish to QlikSense. So when we first rolled this out, what would happen is we would create a new app every time you publish to Qlik. Now you have the opportunity to either create that new app or choose an existing app and add that data to it. So instead of proliferating a whole series of apps because folks are shopping for data and they're just trying to test out and see if it's the right data and they're going into QlikSense to do it, now you can add that data to an existing app so you can control that. In addition, historically, the way our publish to QlikSense worked was it would always open into Insight Advisor. And some of our folks said, that's not necessarily where I want to be. This time, I want you to open up in the data load editor because I actually want to do some additional scripting. Or I want to see it in the data manager because I want to see how I'm combining this data with other things. So this is a capability that's now available. It's published to Qlik Advanced, and it gives you the ability to push this to an existing app in the view that you want to see. So this is the slide where that legal disclaimer is most important and pertinent, in that we're going to give you a little preview of what's coming in the product set. Today, when you want to get to the catalog, you're going to a different URL. You're essentially logging into Qlik Data Catalyst on a separate machine, and you're connecting to the catalog there, and then when you click Publish to Qlik, you're pushed over into QlikSense. For some users, that's fine, but we think that for a lot of users, it's going to be much more natural to see the catalog within QlikSense itself. So this does not mean that the catalog is part of your QlikSense deployment. It means that you still need Qlik Data Catalyst and the QVD Catalog to see this, but for your users who are building applications within QlikSense, they will just need to go to add data, and when they go to add data, they're going to see the ability to choose from all the different connectors and whatnot. But on the left-hand side, you're going to see this QVD catalog. And since it's embedded there, they never have to leave this environment. They're totally in QlikSense. They're going to see all the richness of the catalog and everything that we've done previously, right? You're going to see the statistical profile and the operational readiness and the popularity, all those things that you know and love about that catalog, but within the same UI. It's currently targeted for the February 2020 release. But that's that part where I have to say, nothing's cast in stone. Don't be betting on that. But it's as you can see, we've already got a lot of this in functional shape. So the last thing I'd like to leave you with is opportunities for you to get more information, right? So if you go to qlik.com, you go to products, there's a lot of resources under the Qlik Data Catalyst section of the product section. Also, if you go to the resource library, you'll get the data sheet for QDC for QVDs, and the user documentation is actually available out on the web directly. So you've had enough slides and enough of me talking. Now it's time for a demo. I'm going to pass you off to my esteemed colleague, Jonas Linden.
Hello everyone, my name is Jonas Linden, and I will do this presentation or demo of Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs. I work as a global pre-sales within Qlik, and I've been with the company for almost 3 years now, and I joined with the acquisition of Idevio, more known as Qlik Analytics. But I get the opportunity to work with all the great products at Qlik. So a short introduction to the demo. It is a demo, so it is already set up. So Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs and Qlik Sense Enterprise are already deployed and working together, set up in the cloud. It can of course also be set up on premise if you want to do that. And there are great guides out there how to set this up, for instance at help.qlik.com. So the goal with this exercise is to get you all more familiar with the QVD support and the workflow in Qlik Data Catalyst, but also how it connects to Qlik Sense, and perhaps shed some light in the darkness, or I probably would more like to say showcase how easy it is to work with QVDs in Qlik Data Catalyst. I'm not from the QDC team. I'm just an ordinary pre-sales guy at Qlik. So this is how easy it is. So with that, I think we get started. So now I'm logged into the Qlik Sense Hub with my test user 28. I'm also logged into the Qlik Management Console. But as you can see in the Qlik Sense Hub, it's very empty here in my workspace, and I have no published apps either. We will work from here to create the connections to the QVDs or QVD that we will then later connect to and catalog. In the Qlik's Management Console, the QMC, one thing to notice is if we look at the data connections, and there are already data connections set up, you will notice that some of them have a tag saying QVD Catalog, and that's important for when cataloging and importing them in Qlik Data Catalyst. Logging into Qlik Data Catalyst for QVD will take us to this welcoming view. So we'll actually see the catalog, and there are only three icons here to the left hand side. It's the catalog, where you can see your QVDs. You can investigate the operational value, which is actually how often they refresh, etc., and what changes in them. The size value and the popularity. And the popularity is then, this is a very new environment, so I haven't really worked so much with the QVDs. But as you will work with them and have users contributing, tagging, loading them, the popularity will then change. In the Discover mode, you can look at both the pre-created data sets, which is sort of a collection of QVDs. You have the source hierarchy and the sources. The sources we'll come back to later, but that's how you set up the import of QVDs. And then you have the entities, and entities equals then QVDs. So one entity is one QVD. And then the field data in these QVDs. So these can be investigated further in this Discover mode. And then under security, you can then manage users and groups if you have the authority to do so. So this is on the left hand side. More important is perhaps the admin interface. So in the admin interface, I would like to cover a couple of the topics that are available. First, the maintenance services. Here you can find the logs, as you will do after the import as well. But you can also then terminate jobs. If you have unfinished jobs for any reason, you can terminate them here or delete them. You have the applications log, where you can look at how the application is doing, and also download the log if you need to do that. Then I will spend most of my time here at the QVD import, which is the most important thing working with Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs. As you can see, we have a Qlik Sense connector already set up called QDC for QVD2 with a host and a QDC base directory, and this is on the Linux machine. You see that the default entity level is set to registered, and this is actually the only option that exists in Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs. If you have the full product, you can also have managed and address data. Having registered QVDs means that we will only be able to publish back to Qlik Sense. With the full version, can also save the data in an XML or text format, so you can publish to other BI software. But in Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs, only registered and only for Qlik Sense. You also notice the QVD mount point. This is actually share, and under this you have our QVD repository. So everything, if you just have share, everything under share will then be imported if you run a scheduled import. The JSON web token is generated, and you use a guide for that. It's also included in the documentation previously shown. And that will also create then the global unique ID that you will use. So let's say that we would like to run an incremental load. There are actually two versions here, full reload and incremental load. And be a bit cautious about the full reload, because that will do exactly what it says. A full reload, remove the old loads that you have done and only take in the full load. So be a bit cautious about that. So if we run the incremental load, notice here that, well, we haven't any new, so this job has already been done. It's finished and it runs very fast. You can view the details here, the general information. It found 39 QVDs, but there were no additions detected, no changes, no deletions, so it just stays where it is. We also have the metadata logs and the data logs. So with that, I think we have sort of investigated Qlik Data Catalyst, and we can now start and create our first connections ourselves. So we move back to the Qlik Sense hub. To create the connection, we need to do that from an application. So we call this Textbert. And of course it's empty, but the only thing I want to do here is to create my connection to QVD. So I do this from a folder, and I need to find this on my computer. So we have the share and we have QVDs. And here I'm going to use airports, and I'm going to take a very specific one. So I take the 28th here. So I can give it a name. We call it Textbert QVD. And we create that connection. That's all we need to do here in the Qlik Sense hub. Then we move further to the QMC, and we look at the data connections, and we see if we can find, here we see something, Textbert QVD, and we then edit this because we want to add the catalog tag to that connection as well, in order for Qlik Data Catalyst to recognize it and to be able to run a reload. So it's very easy. The tag is already set up. If it's not, you can go to tags and create. The QVD catalog should be spelled exactly like this, and then you apply that to this connection. And we see that we have the tag here. So then we move back to the Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs. We are already in the admin interface. So we go to the QVD import. We edit our default mount point here, because we want to go directly to the settings that we had. Let's see. And we had the 28. So if you set something like share directly, all the subfolders will then be imported and loaded. But here we want to do it very specific. And we press save. It's very important. So by this we can reuse the connector, the name, and then the host. We don't need to set this up. We can also test the connector, and you can see it's working. Just the default mount point we changed. And then we go into show the QVD paths. And here you need to sync the paths. And you will recognize that you have one new connection, and that's actually the one that we just set up, Qlik sense path, and which also creates then the Linux path. So we accept this one, and now you might think, well, an error, but that's just because we don't have a name for that source, and it needs to be a source name. So before you can accept the change, you need to go into via the pen and give it a name. So we call it expert load. Don't use spaces, but it should do. And now we can accept, and you see that we have no more changes. So it actually says here the pen to modify the source name before choosing accept. So this is important. So now we can schedule our incremental load. And you recognize here, we actually changed because we had others here. So total changes detected. You can actually watch the details for this one. We added one QVD, and that's also detected. And this is the metadata logs. See the scanning and the data logs. So we have actually 128 good records, which is good. If you get bad or ugly records, it's not the end of the world. It might be that the type of the QVD isn't matched with the data, but it still will be recognized by, most often I would say, by Qlik Sense and Qlik View. So now we have, hopefully, a new QVD in our repository. So we look in the catalog, and I knew that this was called something with airports. And it was actually airports BO, and BO, I know that's being the name for the ISO code for the country. So see if we can recognize where it is. But you see, it doesn't have that much of information. So we can search for something else. We can look at, you see this one has more data, much more rows and fields. So if we look at that one, view entity, you will also see that you get some field statistics and metadata, description, number of values, the total count. It also has a popularity record since it's been used. Here we can look at the lineage and also export it. You can get sample data in the CSV or XLS, but as mentioned, it's sample data. So if for larger QVDs you can get sample data if loaded, but not for small ones. This is actually the catalog where you can shop for data. We can also go into discover mode, and we can look at our specific entity for the last load. You can view the details. So here you can also tag the data. So let's say that we call this one airport, and get a tag called airport. Some of these can be filled in depending on what kind of access rights you have for the QVDs in Qlik Data Catalyst. You can also look at properties. So here you see more information, the original name, the QVD name, the folders where metadata is stored, and the path, etc. We have tagged the loaded QVD. We can also have data sets. So in this case, I tagged car and complaints because I know that these QVDs goes well together. So in the catalog, when choosing like airports, you can add both these to the cart. You recognize here that in my shopping cart I can take action. So I can create a data set. So let's say that I want to create a data set of, it could be airports. Can make it public for others to consume, or only for myself, and then press save. I want to have the QVD which I just loaded. So this one. And now I can take action and publish the Qlik sense, which I will do pretty fast. And what's actually happening here is that it creates a connection to the QVD, but you don't need to remember the connection name or anything of that. So, I mean, creating these connection is not usually done by all the people. It's probably just a few within the company. The catalog experience should be for as many as possible, because there is where you can find your data and consume it. So we load the data here, and we can now just see what we have in. Go to edit mode, take our cart, we add a map, and we can just drag the name to the map, and we add this. I know that this is a point layer, and apparently we got all the airports for Bolivia. So you can of course tweak and work much more with the visualization and KPIs, etc. But I would say this is a very easy way to go from creating a connection in the hub, tag it in the QMC, load it, and import it, the data, by scheduling a reload in Qlik Data Catalyst in order to get it in the catalog, and then of course investigate the data further, but also tag it, perhaps create collections for others to use, and then in the catalog, very easy, add the QVDs that you would like to have, take an action, and perhaps publish the Qlik, which is very convenient, and then create your applications. So with that, I would like to end this session, not making it too long, and hope you enjoyed the way of working with Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs and Qlik Sense Enterprise. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, now we have a little bit of time to address some questions and answers. Peter, which question would you like to address first?
So one of the first questions we see here, which is not surprising, is about money, right? How is this licensed? Is it a separate product? How does that work? So it's fairly straightforward. Qlik Data Catalyst is a separate product. There are two different license levels for Qlik Data Catalyst. There is the Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs only, and that's a much smaller purchase price with a smaller set of capabilities, and what you've seen here today. Then there is the full Qlik Data Catalyst, and the full Qlik Data Catalyst allows you to do those additional things that we talked about at the beginning, and with a different price point. But it is a separate license from QlikSense. It is a subscription-based license. It always has been, always will be. And it is a separate server and environment because, like I said, it's installed on Linux. So you should consider all those things when you're thinking about how it's licensed and deployed. Can it be visible or allowed for only certain users? So and this kind of relates back to the licensing question. Qlik Data Catalyst is not user-based. Once you've licensed it, it is available to as many users as you want. So they need to have credentials in order to use it. So you get to control who has access almost entirely based on your configuration of groups and users in it. It's not a question of licensing. A related question is, can you limit what certain users see? And this is absolutely the case. there is a permissioning system within Qlik Data Catalyst that data is exposed only to users who are members of groups that are authorized to that data. So when you log in as you're going to be able to see only the data that has been pre-authorized to the groups that you're part of, like say finance, or let's say DevOps team, right? Whatever your setup is. A related question to the last one is, where are those users and groups, right? How does that? How can we sync this? What do we do in order to make this work with Active Directory and fully qualified names? And it's a really detailed question around that. But the short answer to a long question is, we synchronize against Active Directory. We assume you have something like Active Directory or LDAP against which we can pull users and groups. You can build local users and groups in Qlik Data Catalyst, but we believe best practice is you have identity management elsewhere, and you should be using that. And the way it works is we will reach out to that server. We'll need appropriate credentials to get to your Active Directory server, and we will pull every user in the groups that you define in the group query. You can get more detailed than that, but we usually start with the group query, and we pull all the subgroups and all the users of those groups and automatically create them as users and groups within Qlik Data Catalyst.
Peter, we have time for one last question.
Here's a partner-specific question. When can we download and use this as partners? The answer to that is it's available out there right now. So if you have access to the partner portal and you go to the product page, there is information including additional training around Qlik Data Catalyst for QVDs, and it has information on downloading as well as information to get a license for the QVD catalog and how to install and whatnot. So that's available right now. As for the full Qlik Data Catalyst product, in order for you to be able to download it, you need to go through the accreditation process. So if you go through the accreditation process, which is a series of 6 or 7 different modules and a test at the end, you will be given access to the full product download with the license and be sent a license to use it. So I'd like to say thank you. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to present this to you. We're happy to be able to provide more and more capabilities. You're going to see more integration across the Qlik platform, and we're excited about it. So thanks for the time, and I appreciate the great questions.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you to Peter and Jonas for presenting. We appreciate getting experts like them to share with us. Here's our legal disclaimer. And thank you once again. Have a great rest of your day.